time in the 2020s, two geeks from across social media formed an alliance to bring you geek news from across the Nostalgiaverse. They are Jacob's Toys and SuperSorrell. So strap yourselves in for the weekly live show that brings you toy news, TV and movie reviews, special guests, opinions, tangents, and bad impressions. Reveals, releases, thoughts, and maybe dreams. So prepare yourselves for the Geek Week in Review. Live.
I love that intro.
I love it so much.
Hello, welcome back to the Geek Week in Review with me, Jacob's Toys, and of course the wonderful one and only SuperSorrell. Hello, everybody. We will get to comments in a second. Episode 130, and we have got a special guest coming up, haven't we? If you're watching us on repeat, thank you very much. Do join in with the comments and stuff, and you know, comment along because we do pick them up, and we'll talk about them in a later show. And if you're new to the show, then jump on the description. Like, share, subscribe, and all of those things. It's very much appreciated. I don't want to waste a huge amount of time. I think we're going to bring our guest on pretty quickly. Anything you want to mention before we do, Sorrell?
Play the intro. We've got a new intro for guests. Play the intro.
We've got guest intros here. Ready? Here we go.
The Geek Week are very pleased to welcome back to the show for the third time. You know him from Tall Toy Tales, Letting Them Breathe, Hasbro, Star Wars, and of course, Marvel. Not to mention some incredible charity giveaways. Your friend and ours, Mr. Stevie18, aka Steve Evans.
Oh, what happened
That was
there?
a dramatic pause. That was a little too dramatic.
There was hype. There was anticipation.
I was like, this is so cool. And then you cut me off. I was like, that's something.
That was it. Well, we had to give you a bit of an intro. You've officially, Steve, welcome back to the show. Thank you very much.
Thank you ever so much. You boys have changed. Oh my God, what's all this flash stuff?
I know, right? I know.
Well, point in your slot.
It's because you are our longest running guest now. You've now hit a third spot, and most other guests have only hit the 2 spots. So
hat trick.
You're now going for the hat trick. Yeah. So
no,
it's great to have you on the show again, especially this sort of period of time as well, like Christmas time, building up to the end of the year and everything. How's things with you? How's Christmas over there?
Christmas over here is busy. I've done all my shopping except for my son's stuff. Sam, I love him to bits. He's my eldest, and he's lastminute.com, which is great because I can actually say that with British people who understand what the hell I'm talking about. But he's just gave us his list yesterday, so he's not getting much. He can have some money and a Boots voucher maybe, which he can't spend. I'll teach him on it. So, I'm almost done all my Christmas shopping, but it's crazy. I went out today. My daughter wanted to go out and get a few things. So we went to the local mall shopping center, and it was heaving. And I just don't like, I just don't like people. It was crazy. It was mental. But it's the same. I think it's the same over there as it is over here. Every other store or little kind of kiosk is a phone repair kiosk or store.
Yep.
It's the same. But apart from that, I'm doing all right. Got my last week at work. No one's in next week, so I'll just put my feet up on my big oak table because I have such a massive office, and I'll just relax. Actually, that's when I clean my office.
That's amazing.
Clean.
I actually rounded up for work on Friday, so I'm done for Christmas.
Me too.
How long do you get off for Christmas then? Have you got an extra week? Do you normally have? Do they give you time off?
I'm actually self-employed now, so I do whatever I want.
He has all the time in the world.
So I go, you know what? I'm finished for Christmas. So I decided to finish a little bit early.
Oh, that's good for you.
I just put a week vacation in, so I've got 11 days off straight. Yes!
11 days, awesome. Yeah, they give us the week off between Christmas and New Year.
Nice.
So
Yeah,
just one more week, and then I got a week off. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
I was reading an article online the other day about like how over here in the UK you can sort of like book days off around all the different bank holidays and end up with like 50 days off over the year. So I was like, that's some serious like mathematics going on at when you're booking holiday.
Crazy. Well, the thing over here is in America, people very rarely take 2 weeks off for holiday or vacation. So when I came over 13 years ago, I was like, oh, I'll take my 2-week holiday. And they were like, 2 weeks? And I was like, yes. So this year I took 2-week holidays. So I got my 50th. So I was like, yep, I'm off. That's how we do it in England. 2 weeks.
Amazing. So tonight's show, it's today, this afternoon for you, this evening for us. What's up, Sorrel? You look like you were paused.
Do I not get to show off my new awesome toy that I got this week? Do I not get to share?
Go on.
Because I've been dying to show you it since I got it.
Oh, the big bad wolf.
The big bad wolf! This thing is so amazing. How cool is that?
That's really cool.
Super 7 have knocked it out of the park.
Is that the Ultimates?
Yeah.
When was that? No, I haven't seen that one. I've seen like the King Richard and all that, but when do they go deep cut? I need them to. Right, my friends at Super 7, you know how you love us with all our sub-license shenanigans. I need a Peter Pan.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Please, please.
I've seen your little Peter Pan collection. Well, I say little; it's quite large now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Peter Pan collection. It's epic. It's pretty cool.
I do like Peter Pan. It was the first movie I ever saw as a kid, and my nickname from my parents is Tink. They call me Tink. So I was obsessed with Tinkerbell as a 2-year-old. I used to like, and at my nan's house, there's a tree. We used to walk her dog Prince up to the golf course, and there's a tree that used to have a little notch in it, and that's where Tinkerbell lived. I was sure of it up until the age of about 15. And that's that. Yes, Tinkerbell. So yeah, I need a Peter Pan. So yeah, I collect all the Peter Pans that I can get that look like the movie ones, the movie version.
Yeah.
But there's not that many of them. But
no. I'm sure Super 7 are going to go there soon. They've got to go for characters like that soon.
Surely. Oh yeah, 100%.
I actually didn't have any pickups this week. I got sent 2 things which are very cool. The first one, Geek Week stickers.
You with your own characters.
I got sent a sample pack of stickers. I got like 20. These are like really limited edition, but they're quite cool. And display cases, right? I'm a sucker for a good display. Like I'm a sucker for how to display figures, and these are like wooden hexagonal, like they're different. Yeah, and look, you can kind of see with a Spider-Man set up here.
Yeah, that's neat.
And it kind of and I was like, I love a good display, so I was kind of like, I'm gonna have a play with these. So
they're like those old mathematic blocks you used to get at school. Now you guys are old enough.
They feel like them.
Those,
no, they're like the hollow light wood as well. Like they feel like those as well.
I still have those little blocks at school.
But they're really cool. They're like set of 6. They're all different heights, and I've got 2 sets. So I'm going to do like an epic kind of No Way Home setup. I think that's awesome. Where I'm going with that one.
Yeah. I got a pickup today. As we're all showing us.
Go for it.
I wasn't ready, so it's not in. My arms are massive, like a big orangutan. I picked up Alf today.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to open him, and I'm going to cut them all up because I'm going to customize a Womble.
Ooh.
Oh,
I got
nice.
so much Womble to do. I think I'm going to do Orinoco, but I'm not sure. But I think if I shorten his arms and his legs, take his head off, sculpt over it, I can get a Womble out of him. So
yeah, that would be very cool.
Until I can afford to start my own toy company and make those classic British children's television characters. That's my dream one day. When I'm about 80, I got to find about $500,000 to make a series of Wombles and Banana Man and more.
That would be very cool.
That'd
be very cool.
That'd be awesome.
Do you think some of your collecting comes from like, because obviously you're from our Isles, but you live over in the States. Do you think it's because of like the fact that you've moved to America and they are so different from our sort of children's like sort of the TV programs? Is that why you like collecting the British kind of stuff?
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of nostalgia. There's a little bit of uniqueness as well. Because when I tell my colleagues, they go, "The Womble? What's a Womble?" And I'm like, they're mostly underground, but sometimes they're overground. They're always wombling free. They kick up.
I've got to throw up I got to throw up Triple G's comment here because I was literally just about to say that for me it's Super Ted and the Spotty Man. Like that would be.
I haven't seen
awesome.
one. I haven't even seen. I haven't seen one.
No,
I used to like Super Ted when a Spotty Man came down from outer space.
it was a good one. It was a good one. But obviously this is our end of, like, not our end of year stream, but it's kind of like we're getting towards the end of the year. So we wanted to get you on. We're going to do like a little bit of a top 5 each, kind of talk about some of the figures that Hasbro produced. I do want to pick your brains a little bit though before we get into our top 5.
Well.
So you've been doing some polls on your Instagram, haven't you, about some retro toy lines?
Personal polls, yes.
Yeah. I know they were personal. But when are we getting a Visionaries, like an updated Visionaries? Like, go back and watch the show. I think probably every other show I talk about wanting an updated Visionary.
See, I didn't collect Visionaries. I didn't have a Visionary when I was a kid.
Really?
And but I do have a thing for holograms. I will admit, I have a fascination with holograms. That probably comes from collecting the X-Men cards in like '91. So I was late to holograms. And holograms, it's a Christmas version, the holograms. And I thought, screw it, I got to get Visionaries. There's Visionaries, there's Supernaturals, there's a little bit of actually Battle Beast wasn't really holographic, it was just heat reveal. So I picked one up, and it's nice. I didn't realize they were so big. I didn't realize they were like sort of 5 inches, and so it's a good chunky feel.
There was I had it on VHS. There was like the pilot episode, I suppose you would call it, but essentially it was like the long extended advert for the toy line. But it was about the different kind of groups and how they got their powers and all that kind of stuff. And I was obsessed with it. I literally wore it out and then collected as many of those figures as I could. And there was the vehicles and everything as well. They were just very cool, very, very cool figures. But I must admit, your polls did like send me down a little bit of a nostalgia path, because there were some really cool toy lines in there that we've talked about them on the show many times, like things like Mask, obviously Visionaries, then Centurions, like things like that. And I'm surprised
Centurions didn't make it. Centurions didn't make the cut. And I know, listen, my polls aren't like thousands and thousands of people, but like I was surprised. I remember Centurions.
Didn't Mask come out on top?
Mask was by far the clearest winner. And, we'll have to see, won't we?
I mean, it's Visionaries. Yeah. And there was another hologram line as well around the same time, and we've talked about it, and I always forget the name.
That's
Supernaturals, the little like hooded figures. They had like a full body. It was like a skeleton thing, and it would twist.
Yes, that was Tonka, if I'm right. Wow. Someone in the chat confirmed that with me. I think it was Tonka, but which is unusual. But
not much articulation in those. Literally, the arms went forward and back.
That was it. But no, I love all that old stuff, and I am a sucker for like old technology, holograms, red reveal, stuff like that. I love all that. I always go to my team. I often go to them, and I'll grab an old technology, and I'll go, "What's that? What does this mean today? What does red reveal mean today?" Go, and they have to sort of go out and come back.
Yeah, it's funny as well, because like nowadays, especially with like action figure collecting and like adult collectors, as the term is, it's all about articulation, it's all about detail, it's all about photoreal technology, all that kind of stuff. And I was doing a bit of a deep dive into the things that I collected, and Monster in My Pocket, do you remember those?
Yeah,
they were
they were coloured muscle men, weren't they?
Coloured lumps of coloured plastic. And people went mad for them, and there was no articulation. There was no, like they all looked the same pretty much. Like, but you've got a purple skeleton. Well, I'll swap it for my yellow skeleton.
Yeah,
I just
makes it go. Yeah, I mean, Funko's everywhere. Funko is collectible all over the place. That's not articulated, so it is weird. Something just hits sometimes.
Yeah, but no. So in regards to your polls, for your personal opinion, was there one that you were hoping was going to come out on top? Which one were you rooting for?
Which one did I vote for? Because you can vote on your own polls. It wasn't Mask. I knew Mask. I wasn't into Mask that much. I remember what came up now. Dino Riders is up there. Visionary. I wanted Visionaries to be quite high just because I'm in love with it recently. But I think Visionaries. I think Visionaries. If nothing else is popping into my mind that I can't remember the full list. If I'm honest with you, 'cause I haven't prepped.
We can remain friends then, Steve. If Visionaries is on there, that's
I got to turn around. What would we like back? I don't know. Dead air. A-Team. Do the A-Team again. That'd be cool. But
A-Team's good. It's funny as well, Dino Riders. We had quite an interesting chat with guys at Creative Beast Studios who are doing all like the new articulated dinosaurs and very similar kind of concept to the Dino Riders, and it was really interesting seeing the kind of the evolution of that. Oh, that's a good word to use when you talk about dinosaurs, but evolution of that.
If you believe in that, other theories are available.
We don't want to uninclude anyone. But yeah, but it was really interesting because again, that was another line that as a kid I had so many of them. Like they were the type of toy that you could pick up really cheap at certain stores where I lived in London. And I just seem to have tons of them. But trying to rekindle that collection now is like you need to take out another mortgage. Like it's ridiculous.
Oh, God, yeah.
And so I'm just looking at the poll now because I'm just trying to. My grey matter is not as good as it would be. And there is one actually, Micronauts. I was surprised Micronauts. They did pretty well, but it didn't storm it because I've been researching Micronauts at the moment. I'm fascinated with the Henshin cyborg and the evolution of Micronauts, how it came from G.I. Joe, and they took G.I. Joe Action Man over to Japan. For some reason, they didn't like military American figures. Don't know why. In like the 1970s, so they then just like remolded it and made it big. And then the oil issue hit, and then they had to shrink it down because it's too expensive. And then they made the little Microman, and then that was taken over, by Mego and Micronauts. And then Kenner came along with Star Wars, and everyone thinks like, oh, Kenner invented 3 3/4. No, they didn't. They didn't at all. Yeah. It was our friends at Takara. So fascinating history in there. Sorry. Yeah. Deviate a little bit, but your intro said there are tangents, and there's a tangent.
That's what this show is all about. That is what this show is all about.
Well, I mean, speaking of 3 3/4 inch, it's making a comeback again. I mean, I know how kind of Hasbro did away with it for a little while, and other companies have started putting 3 3/4 out. We got the Page Punchers, that big deal with Hasbro coming out with.
They're like 2.5. Small, aren't they? It's a bit smaller.
A little bit, a little bit smaller. But I think the smaller figures are coming back round again.
You know why? Because petrol's so bloody expensive. Same thing. Life just goes round and round. Folks. If you haven't noticed yet, if you're not old enough yet to have started at the top of the wheel and come back round, it'll happen. Then you go, hang on a minute, I've been here before. And then you'll work out it just goes round and round and round until eventually we all fall off the rail.
That's it. That is it. But no, that Page Punchers news was really cool. We talked about that on our last show. Very excited to see where that's going. We made a couple of
I had no idea about it. It just came up because I'm obviously aware of Page Punchers, and I was just like, the licensing division is across the building. It's over there. So I have friends in there because I worked in the licensing business before I came to Marvel for a couple of years. I did all their style guides and new brands and things like that. So when we were pitching old brands, like Mask or Micronauts or things like that, I would be involved in kind of like, all right, what does that look and feel like? What's that story? And we'd go out and pitch it. So when I found out Page Punchers, I nipped over there and went, oh, I didn't know that. So
that's very interesting.
So you just get to be a giant child at work, don't you? Just like, I want this line, so we're going to talk about it. Let's do it.
The Vault stuff we've got Hasbro is huge. There isn't a folder. It used to be, up until recently, there was a folder. And the folder was that thick, full of all the brands that Hasbro still own. And I just used to go and look at the folder and go, oh, I didn't know we owned that. Oh my God. But now it's all online, but you can, not online, but like on our intranet. So you can go and search up. Oh, I didn't know we owned that. That's interesting. There's some.
I messaged you the other day about Peppa Pig. I was like, I didn't realize that Hasbro did Peppa Pig now. It was
that came with the E1 deal. So we kept a few of those.
It was
when we bought the E1.
Yeah, no, that's cool. And they're a definite improvement for someone that's had children that went through Peppa Pig the last time round, and now my younger children are going through Peppa Pig. The toys now are much better than the toys before. I'm like, right, we'll replace that one. Right, Daddy Pig, you're out. We're gonna get a new one.
Good show. I love all the preschool shows like that, and Bluey is another one where it's very much
Bluey,
very much for the grown-ups as well. Just the charm, the way they speak, and the the situations. It's funny.
Bluey is something else. However, I've got to say this now because now we talk about Peppa Pig. Well, I've talked about Peppa Pig. I brought it up, but I saw a really adult joke in Peppa Pig this week that I'd never seen before. So it's like a Halloween party, and the teacher, like Miss Gazelle, like her name is. So one of the characters is dressed up as a vampire, and she goes up to Madame Gazelle and she says, "Oh, what are you?" And she says, "Oh, I'm a vampire." And she says, "Oh, that reminds me of the old country." And then the narrator goes, "That's peculiar. Madame Gazelle doesn't have a reflection." And it shows you the mirror and she hasn't got a reflection. So I was like, this is really adult. Like there's like
Yeah, so she was suckled on in the old country many years ago. Now she's God.
So there we go. There's a little bit of Peppa Pig knowledge for you. So bringing it back to Hasbro Marvel a little bit. Obviously, we saw the Marvel live stream earlier in the week. This was cool. Very, very exciting. I called it when I spoke to Ryan in October. I said about the Wolverine 50th, and he kept very poker faced.
Ryan does have a poker face. He's very.
I would not want to play poker with Ryan at all. Like there was no give in that.
I'm sure he's a card counter as well. He can remember everything. That guy.
Yeah. But yeah, that was a really, really exciting fan stream to watch.
Yeah, it was good.
Really enjoyed that one. Some really, really cool reveals there. Finally getting that Sabretooth, that classic Sabretooth, which is
Goblin Queen. No mind Sabretooth. Goblin Queen's where it's at. Finally.
Goblin Queen.
It looks like that in the animation, all you people. Why should that? It's just in the animation.
Yeah. But yeah, that was a surprising one. But obviously, it's like you say, X-Men '97. Which
it's a good way of getting around it though, as well. Like getting around the risque costuming bit by using the new '97. I like that. That's a good way of doing it.
Yeah. Well, she's in the show, so there you go.
The thing is we've had so much merch for '97.
It's not even
out yet. Had a trailer. Still no trailer. We haven't seen any footage.
That is the look of a man that has seen a trailer right there. Look at his face.
No, I haven't actually. I haven't. I don't think it'll all be far away. I think we're going to start ramping that up soon.
Steve's like 3 episodes deep.
Yeah.
Right? Really?
He had that look of, have you not? I can't remember what public knowledge now.
You'll start seeing stuff soon. I saw the opening. You'll start seeing.
Oh, we're not trying to have a mouth.
The lawyers are at the side of Steve like this with a gun.
Let's move on.
It'll be fun. It's really, really true. It's a continuation, basically.
Yeah. I can't wait.
Cool.
I can't wait. We were saying as well, like for me personally, it's really cool to have something that taps into what I enjoyed as a kid and something that I watched when I was younger, but also opens the door to like my kids and like my sons in particular are really excited about it. And it's really exciting to kind of be on that kind of threshold of something that is new for them, but also new for me, but nostalgic for me, if that makes sense.
It's gone through the perfect storm where you've got the nostalgia of the parents ushering their kids into this new storyline, which is going to be a huge storyline. Like, we all know the X-Men are eventually coming, and it's like, that's huge. Like it's huge. It's huge. And in my mind, and my personal opinion, is that it's a perfect story for today's society. The X-Men story is just like on the nose. Just a great story, very applicable. And I personally can't wait to get into the X-Men era.
I can't wait for the next couple of waves. I'm not going to say anything, but I can't wait for the next couple of waves. But yeah. So anyway, let's move on. We're going to do our top 5s, aren't we? We're going to talk top 5s from Hasbro. Did we put any kind of, what was the?
No, just our favorite top 5 sort of announced like figures of this year, really.
Well, I hope you can find 5.
Find 5?
In terms of like the top 5, because everything we make's rubbish.
You know what? I actually struggled to limit it to 5. And
that's the right thing.
There's that many announcements.
No, I genuinely was. I thought when we kind of came up with the concept of top 5, I thought, that's easy. I can do a top 5, no problem. But then I kind of found myself, and even when I spoke to Ash and I sent my list over to him, and then he sent his, and I was like, oh, how did I miss that one? But I stuck true to my list because of reasons as opposed to everything else. Like there's reasons behind it as well.
Yeah, good. Well,
who's going first? How should we do it? Who should we go first?
I'm easy either way. Just I'm the man in the chair with all the pictures. Just be gentle with me, and we'll go.
So polite.
Right. Tell you what, we'll start with Steve's number 5, and we'll work our way around. So we'll go Steve, me, and then Sorrel.
All right, we'll go
Okay.
clockwise.
Sound good?
Have you got pictures?
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
professional on this show.
All right, good.
So your number 5.
So my first number 5 actually isn't from this year. I don't believe. I think officially it's from last year. But it's yeah. So like I was on Joe for a while with Lenny. We kicked it off classified years ago when we were doing when we were doing Snake Eyes movie. We had the Snake Eyes movie. I was helping develop that with Lenny and a few others, and we kicked off the classified. I wasn't on it very long, so then I moved off to do my consumer products, which I told you about, the Star Guys and all that stuff. But I do like classified, and they do a cracking job. Lenny and the team and Emily and all that. It's just brilliant. I just love the way it's kept true to itself, and it has it's hard. It's they're not afraid to be military, and they're not afraid to be about what really what about Joe. I can't get my words out today. Put my teeth in. They really stay true to what Joe is about, and there's also a little bit of campness in there as well. Because let's face it, Joe is a little bit camp. It absolutely is. So the Tiger Force Outback is a figure I particularly like, and I've actually got one here. I haven't actually opened it yet, and I like it because what it stands for. This ridiculously large tiger print on his chest, and it's got color and I want hair like him. If I'm honest, I haven't got a figure of myself. When I was on Star Wars, it was quite customary for people to have put their likenesses on sculpts in figures, whether it be Death Star commanders or Mark Boudreaux's on his Endor Rebel soldier. So it was quite common. I was like, "Ooh, I could get my own figure, awesome!" And they were like, "We don't do that anymore." And I was like, "Oh, what?" So I've got like this guy. And that's doing me a big favor, by the way. like that. I want to look like that when I'm about sort of 60 with my sort of like floppy hair. I want to try and grow a beard if I start now. But I just really like it. I like all the gear. I like the story. I like the fact that we've got weird factions in Joe. And I just had to put a Joe figure in there. I don't collect them, but I do have a great appreciation and respect for the heritage and for how classified, in my opinion, really sticks to it. And I'm just gonna grow my hair like that, which is weird because I've just had my hair cut. I keep wanting to grow it like that, but I just keep losing it. I keep bottling out, to be honest.
Need the blue bandana as well.
He's just cool. I think I have a crush on him, if I'm honest. I'm just I'm really quite metro, but he's just like, I look at him and go, yeah, that's an old dude.
I was telling Jacob like a few weeks back about JJ. Like, I originally bought into the line because I thought this will look cool, like posed opposite a Predator figure, and I can build my own kind of like Predator scenes. But then I ended up falling in love with the G.I. Joe line for what it was. And you can like build your own Expendables kind of thing and your own kind of like task forces. And I really got into that aspect of it. It's a really cool line.
I was the same. I actually picked this one up, and this started the barrel rolling for me a little bit, and I started picking up more and more. And yeah, I pulled out at the end. It was just kind of like I couldn't. There was too many that I wanted, and I was like, I'm not going to do them justice in displays. I don't want them just sitting in the box. So, but it's such a cool line because you can pick up one or two, like you say, for action figure photography. They're so versatile that they kind of go into others.
They just have their own little. Each box has its own little story. You look at it, it's so caricaturized. They're just great. Like I got Fiona, Croc Masters, like any action figure set that comes with a crocodile. I'm buying that. Just like it is a crocodile. Yeah, of course, Croc Master. Yeah, it's just like it's just so fun.
I picked that one up at MCM. It was after I spoke to Emily last year, and we were talking about G.I. Joe and stuff. And I literally went from the interview over to one of the booths and picked it up because I was like, I've been talking about wanting it, and I need to just pick it up. It's just a very cool line, very very cool line, and the head sculpts on them are phenomenal. But the one thing that I must say about G.I. Joe that I said to Emily is that the fact that there's a place for everything, that all the weapons and accessories have a pouch or a hook or something. It's fantastic. All right, so on to my number 5, which is probably one of the most recent figures to be released this year, ironically.
You know, I'm sat here just going, I hope I got the right pictures. And I'm sat there like, please be the right pictures for people.
My number 5 is the Final Swing Tom Holland from the No Way Home retro.
Do you mean Ash? Have you got the right one there?
I think so.
Yeah, you have.
Yes.
Yeah.
So many. When you guys both put,
I wasn't sure which version you wanted, Jake.
Yeah. So when you put, I was like, which version are we talking, people? Like, there's thousands of them.
Yeah. I just found this figure like in hand. It's there you go, look. And I've got it here. It's there. It's just a really good Spider-Man figure. It really is. And to have a figure in hand this quickly, because obviously the figures, it took a while for the figures to get into our hands after the movie. Like the movie came out 2 years ago this month, you know, and I get it, licensing and all that kind of stuff. But to have a figure of that suit that we only saw for that split second, that's the kind of thing that ordinarily we would have waited another year for or something like that, because they would have done all the main characters first. So to have that for me was a real plus. But this became my MCU Spider-Man front and center straight away because it's just very cool. Yeah, so that was mine. Not much more to say than that. I love Spider-Man.
Have you got him have you got him maskless as well? I'm looking at your little setup there.
I've got, but I bought did I buy the Pulse set and have I got the cut? Yes, Steve, I've got both. The reason being is that I put the unmasked head on the Pulse.
I was going to say,
pack.
yeah, I could see his face. I was like, that's the wrong costume.
Yeah,
that's why I asked whether you. Okay, gotcha. You're mixing them, which is fine.
Yeah.
Which is the beauty of Marvel Legends. Mix them. We do it all.
But
the time.
it's because, and I'm going to pick a hole here. I'm going to pick a hole.
Fine.
I see a lot of people, not necessarily in Hasbro, but just in people. But a lot of people have obviously got these 3 figures unmasked and put in this one with the other 2 to have the 3 unmasked. And you never had him in this suit with the other 2. So for me, in my OCD, that doesn't work. So I was like, this is a brilliant head sculpt, but it needs to go on that body.
Oh, I see what you mean. I'm with you.
That's really OCD, but that's why. That's why.
Well, thank goodness the neck posts fit. That's a lot.
Yeah. Oh, I tell you what, when I popped the head off and I was like, this is the moment of truth, and it went on. I was like, that's fine. That's fine. We can stay friends. Go on in, Sorrel.
My number 5. Here we go. Is the Marvel Legends Retro Ghost Rider. Yay! This was so fun when it came out. It's just such a it's so nostalgic to my childhood. It was like a little, I ended up like Steve did in the video with Hasbro. I literally carried this thing around for months, just playing with it. It was ridiculously fun. Very cool figure.
Have I shown you the prototype, the original prototype of that?
The all solid red, wasn't it?
It was, yeah, it was without.
Yeah.
It's content's key. Just wrestling him out of it. Magneto's fallen down. What a mess. But the original one that came in as a sort of a first shot didn't have the deco there. It didn't have the deco on the side on the gas tanks, and there's no way you're going to be able to see that clearly. But the head didn't have the skull was full white. It didn't have the holes for the eyes. And we kind of got it, and we went, I know we're trying to make it really plain and really simple. I thought, but I was like, that's a little bit too plain. Let's add in the light. Let's add in the gas tank deco. Let's make that skull with eyes. And I think we even changed the rubber wheels, the sort of softer PVC to a more orange. But that's how it was. Oh, crap, that's how it was originally going to come.
One of a kind, bash. I love it. And for me as well, the fishtail pipes as well was just a nice little touch. Yeah. It's very cool. It's up there on my display. Coming in, Stevie, number 4.
Number 4. This one. A lot of mine aren't sort of like, I love this figure. A lot of it is like, I love this figure for what it stands for. So there's sort of a lot of meaning behind it. So my 4th one is Saggy Bum Spot, who I've got here. And I lost my father, it's like 10 years ago now. And his ass is exactly like my dad. It is uncanny. It's uncanny. When Dwight showed me the sculpt, I was like, you've been looking at my dad's bum. Like, what? Why? That's how my dad does. He had like no backside at all. But I love the proportions. And I there's 1,400 Marvel Legends figures in total around that mark. And they're all, they're built on a particular look. It's like Black Series. They're built on a particular
Mm.
You look at them, you go, yeah, that's okay. It's sort of like an X style. It's just very, it's straightforward. And I like it when we're able to do things that are stylistically different, whether it's a little bit of animation for like What If and all of the Across the Spider-Verse and Into the Spider-Verse, all those things. So I greatly appreciate these little mini expressions of characters that we know. And I didn't know who Spot was, if I'm honest, when it came out. But I thought, one, very brave in terms of diving into a very skinny stylistic look, which I really liked, and then very brave making the main bad guy like this guy I've never heard of, and then very brave making him all derpy and sort of saggy bummed and long limbed and just ganged in weird looking. I just love it. I love the way it feels as well. I think this was in Dwight's top 5. I think when they did their line. So Dwight and I have a lot of appreciation for Spot just for what he stands for. So
It's one of my favorite Spider-Man figures on my shelf. I'm not going to lie.
It's just ridiculous, and it reminds me of my dad's bum.
Anyway, I remember when this was announced, and there was a bit of a kind of the internet was a bit split because obviously, like you say, it's really stylized the animation style and everything like that. But then there were other people going, "Oh, we've never had a Spot figure," and then we get this version, yada yada. But I think this is the perfect version of Spot. When you actually think of Spot and how they portrayed him in the film and everything like that, I thought it was brilliant. And to have a figure of that was even better.
I love him.
He's really cool.
My number 4. I'm going to try and sit him up here.
Right. So my number 4 is actually not even a figure that I own. I don't actually own this figure, but it made it into my top 5, and that is Starkiller. So I put the box set. I know that's kind of 3 figures, but we're looking at the one in the middle. But the reason being is that the Force Unleashed games, like, they for me were ones that I played, like literally played to death. And when I collected Black Series, he was the one character that I was really frustrated that they didn't do, that wasn't available at the time. And there was loads of people that did really good customs and all that kind of stuff. So the fact that we got not only one version, but we then got the single carded version as well, to actually see this in action figure form, for me was a big plus. And I think it's one that is, if I see it in person, I know I'll pick it up. But I know there'll be no hesitation. And I think it might pull me back into Black Series a little bit. So I'm staying away from it.
When were you collecting Black Series, Jake?
You were collecting right up till about Mandalorian, weren't you?
Yeah, I think
the last quite a few of the Mandalorian stuff.
All right.
I think actually the last one I picked up was, and I've still got it, was the Boba Fett throne room Boba Fett, I think.
Because when we started doing this, you were the Legends guy, I was the Black Series guy, and then we've kind of rolled reverse slowly a bit for a while, and then
yeah. I mean, I've got Ahsoka. I'm just looking at them now, but they take up like one square in my collection.
And you started from the beginning. Did you like pick up Luke X-Wing in like 14, or were you?
I went really deep with it for a while, and I was trying to pick up things that were quite pricey and going back, and I was just really frustrated. I couldn't get a Chewbacca at the time, like for love nor money. I just could not get one, and a C-3PO as well. That was when I started. So, but yeah, it might pull me back in. I
started during. It was when the Force Awakens came out, and I was in Disney World at the time, and there was the toy shop downtown Disney, and they had the Hoth pack with the what do you call it? Not the Wampa, they smell better on the outside.
Tauntaun.
The Tauntaun set with Harrison with the Han Solo. They had that, and I was like, it was like $60, and I'm like, I'm taking that bad boy. And then just from there, I was like massively going to the line.
I'm at a crossroads though, Steve, because
there you go.
Look at that. That's not bad condition, I guess.
No. What do you mean you guess?
His left arm's a little yellow.
It is. No, that's the light. It's the light.
You got his helmet as well?
No.
Oh, come on. Why not? Come on.
No.
I'll give you mine. No, I won't.
No. And that's what's frustrating me, because I'm like, you know what? I have this, and I don't have his gun or his helmet. So I'm kind of like, do I now go into a whole nother line and really go back to you know, is this the Star Wars that I collect? Like, do I?
That's the
So,
one. That's
yeah,
the one. That's expensive now. That's very expensive.
I know, but see,
well,
I quite like
do you know how much I paid
that.
for my Luke in Stormtrooper outfit, my Power of the Force?
How
Do you know how
much?
much I paid? Should I tell you?
Hmm.
1p.
Oh yes, of course. You picked them all up, really. Yeah.
Yeah,
I was
1p.
expecting some big money one. Yeah, I remember this. You picked
1p.
up loads really cheap, didn't you?
It's like 1p. But yeah, you should definitely get back into that.
He's sitting there taunting me because it, you know. Oh, well, I just threw him down. But he's sitting there taunting me, so he literally is on my desk, like looking at me every day. Going,
Do you have any of the Kenners original Star
nope,
Wars?
not anymore. This is literally it.
You got to go back in.
This is literally it. So I have quite a few figures like that where I have one figure that just sits there taunting me, going, "You need to go and kind of get back into this."
Interesting. You like
he's there.
test yourself. You just buy them. You're like a sadist. You just kind of like buy them and put them up on the shelf and like, speak to me. Come on. Which one?
Come on.
Which one? It's like putting up your old girlfriends on a shelf. Okay. Right. Well.
Look, see, I do. Look, my Secret Wars Spider-Man.
You're weird. You are odd. You like I don't know.
I've got this weird little collection around kind of my viewpoint of things that I've had or lost and it's kind of like, yeah.
Actually, to be honest with you, I'm actually the same. I'm looking for like a well, the character was called Muppet, but like a Daggett, like Battlestar Galactica. I just want to buy the Daggett, and I know if I buy it and have it on my shelf and look at it, I'll go, I'll just get the Cylon. Well, I'll just get is it Starbuck? Yeah, and it pulls you in. It does. It pulls you in. So actually, I kind of agree with you. That's a good plan, Jake. I like you again.
Yeah. So they're there, kind of like, do I go into it or not? So,
yeah,
go into it.
Sorrel, you're number 4.
My number 4 has to be for this year. There we go. Indiana Jones, just because it was such a cool new line. The adventure series was so cool, and it's finally good to have a 6-inch Indiana Jones.
I haven't got one of those yet. I keep asking Patrick. I'm like, I'll have one of you.
Why don't you get
Actually,
all of them?
I tease Patrick. I say to him, can you get him in any more reduced state of undress? I'm like, you've got like a day in the life. Get up, get dressed, put your shirt on, put your coat on.
Short round.
Yeah.
Gotta get them all.
I got a bit. The first thing I did was remove his gun though and put the blaster from Star Wars as Han Solo in there. So mine's got the Han Solo blaster instead.
Nice.
Do you know my biggest complaint about this?
Yeah.
Line.
Too many Indies?
Say again?
Too many Indiana Jones?
No, because I said to myself, you know what? I'm going to get every incarnation of Indiana Jones that they release, because they'll release one for each of the films, and I can have the 5 Indiana Jones up on the shelf. You haven't touched Crystal Skull. So it's
good reason, for very good reason, Jacob.
There's one missing, right? It's literally, that'd be like releicing figures for all the Star Wars films except for.
Just get the Dial of Destiny, get a little bit of heat, and just melt away some of the wrinkles. There you go. You're done.
You're done. We need a Kingdom Skull, like Indy. But there we go. That's it.
I'll let Patrick know.
Let him know. It won't make a difference. But yeah, I'm kind of like, I was getting into the line. I was like, yes, I've got all these Indies. Crystal Skull's come in, and it didn't. And I was like, oh. So I just feel like it's incomplete.
I have a friend up in where is he? Montreal. Up in Canada, and he's a big Indiana Jones fan. Every time he just buys one, and he does a whole bit. He's an actor and a voiceover guy, so he's a very charismatic guy, Matt. And he sends me a video every time he buys an Indiana Jones, which I was like, okay, all right, I can handle that. I can handle sort of like 25 videos, but he buys multiples, and he sends me a video every time he bloody buys one. It's just like it's like minutes and minutes and minutes of him saying, "Hey, Steve, I bought this," and he's like in Toys R Us, because they have Toys R Us up there still, buying up stuff. But yeah, it's a lot of love for Indy. I mean, you'll be around for a while.
Toys R Us came back for us. It's back in the UK.
Is it?
As a franchise in WH.
Inside WH Smiths.
In where? Smiths?
Yeah.
What?
WH Smiths.
Like one. Oh yeah, Smith. Yeah, WH Smiths. You got to.
Yeah.
When I was back over in April, I hadn't been to a toy store there for quite a while. I went into Entertainer and Smiths. Flipping heck, they're big now. Entertainer used to be like this little. I went into Smiths up near Norwich. It's massive. It's Toys R Us. It was what Toys R Us used to be.
Smiths is Toys R Us. But no, they did this big thing like where I am. That there was a big reopening of big reopening of Toys R Us and everything like that, and then it turns out that it's kind of a franchise within a WH Smith. So it's like you're queuing up for the post office, and there's like Jeffrey there. It's really sad and unfortunate.
Yeah.
But,
We got a note from Stephen Butler who's getting upset. Someone's got a noisy whistling fan.
That's me. That's my computer.
Is it you?
That's my computer. It sounds like a Boeing 747 in the background. Yeah, it needs a good clean.
We're in first class. All right, Stephen, we're in first class. That's the noise you get. You're in front of the engines. You get this little weird whistle. I do apologise for SuperSorrell, Stephen. We will definitely have a word with him.
Question here: are they going to do Shadows of the Empire collection again?
That would be cool on the big card backs as well, 6-inch. That'd be amazing.
That would be cool. I don't know. I don't have any influence over that, but I do remember Shadows when that came out. That was a brave move. Just whoever went, I can just see the conversation. Well, we're gonna do something. Let's do as big a release as if it's with a movie with video games and soundtracks. We'll get John in, and we'll do, but there'll be no movie. Get us ready to go. Really, you want to do that? But they did it. That was cool. I liked it.
Yeah, they redid they did some of the Power of the Force 6-inch card back. So I mean, it would be the natural next step, really, wouldn't it, to do the purple card backs with those figures kind of on there?
What's the main guy, the bad guy, was Zyzer.
Yeah, it's like
XIXOR or something. Or, yeah, whatever. But yeah, it was cool. I wasn't sure about the Buzz Top Chewy.
I love the Buzz Top Chewy. It was awesome.
Yeah, Steve Shelley, one of our regular viewers.
She's very local. I assume it's a woman because there's a picture of a woman on there. But like Shelley was around when I was chatting to Gattrell. So yeah, that's a big Smiths, Shell. Yeah. Big Smiths.
Yeah,
I liked that there.
Smiths is just 90% WWE figures.
Stop stocking decent amounts of them. I'll have a word with him. I'll ring the owner up. I know.
So our number threes, top threes then. So your number 3, Steve.
Number 3 was I don't know. That wasn't number 3. Ash.
Oh, was it not?
No, it's Mon Mothma.
Giving it away.
Sorry.
Right, there's a massive hint here anyway.
I put the wrong order.
This is one that I don't have either. Yet I've pestered Chris from the Star Wars team. I'll fill until the image comes up. Ash has got to bring it from back in cattle class. He's got to bring it to first class. Here we are. Here's your Mon Mothma, Mr. Evans. I'm so sorry it's late. I don't have this one either, but I pestered Chris for it, and I've said, what did I say to him? Get me Mon Mothma. That's what I said to him. This epitomizes, because I was there at the beginning with the retro line. It was like one of the pitches that I worked on. It was like, hey, why don't we go back and do some, because they're expensive. We can re-release some and we can just new characters. And so I get very excited when there's a new character out in retro. And they just announced all the Phantom Menace stuff, which was I saw that in person at a meeting a couple of weeks ago, and I got Chris by the scruff of the neck. I was like, I want to give you a kiss. I want to give you a kiss, you big hairy man. And but I love it. So having any new characters in the original trilogy in retro is personally what it was all about at the beginning. That was part of it. That was like, hey, we can do new stuff in that classic Kenner. So
that box is very cool.
I like it.
The Phantom Menace box set is very cool. Very cool.
It looks really good. And I think the photography that was released, I think, are actually hand painted protos. I saw the actual ones. And just the coloring is just like the Jar Jar is just insane. The coloring is just beautiful. It's just I want it.
Brilliant. Bringing it back to Marvel for my number 3, X-Men 97. We were talking about it earlier. The tiniest picture available, but the X-Men 97 Wolverine.
Your graphics director.
Just because I've been collecting Marvel Legends near enough since the beginning. Oh, are you that insulted by it? I should just taking it off the screen.
I'll just take that one down. It's pointless it being up there. It's because Wolverine's tinier. He's smaller than the others, so it's smaller picture.
But for me, Wolverine, like, through all the years of collecting Marvel Legends, Wolverine was one of them ones where even though we've had hundreds of Wolverines, like it's one of the biggest characters released. It's definitely in the top 5 characters that are released by Marvel Legends, or we've had multiple versions.
But he's an A-lister, yeah.
he is. He's up there, but I never got mad with like all the figures. Like, I was happy to have them all in all the different versions, because with storylines and comic books and stuff, there are so many different versions of how Wolverine looks. But to me, to have that kind of tiger stripe, yellow kind of animated look, that was the one I wanted. That's the one that I wanted to have front and center for my collection. And the cell shaded one came out, and I was like, that's it. This is it. This is the pinnacle of Wolverine. We've reached it. And then the X-Men 97 one came out, and holding them side by side, I was like, you've actually topped the one that I thought was top. So
good. Well, that's good. Well, the cell shaded one is obviously a very particular look, but this one, yeah, I like all the little hood down things as well you get with it and stuff.
He's just a very cool, very, very cool figure. And it's funny because I've mixed some of my cell shaded with my X-Men 97 to kind of create an ultimate lineup. But yeah, he was my favorite.
Cool.
Hey, you, Sorrel, number 3.
My number 3 is Drizzt from the Dungeons and Dragons Golden Archive line.
Nice.
I mean, I loved the first one when it first came out. It was such a cool box set. Took a little while to get over here to the UK. It was kind of a Pulse America exclusive for a while, and once we got Pulse, we got it. But then they brought out the Golden Archive line. It's great to see that they're finally going into some of the other dungeons, like the non-movie character stuff, and we're starting to see all those kind of come out. And R.A. Salvatore's Drizzt is one of my favorite Dungeons Dragons literary characters, and it's cool seeing him in his other attire as well. This is like a more basic attire from like the beginning of the books and stuff.
Yeah,
it's really cool.
Such a cool Dungeons and Dragons characters are quite cool. Not gonna lie, they're very cool.
I'm still waiting for the Stranger Things crossover. It's bound to happen.
It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
Just because I want, just I really want Eddie in a Hasbro form, because the one from Bandai sucks. Hasbro need to do the Hasbro magic on Eddie figure for me.
I was looking at some today. Actually, I was in Newbie Comics up in Boston, and yeah, I was looking at some. I was like,
yeah, I don't know how it's been such a global phenomenon, and yet the toys have been done so dirty.
Although I do enjoy Bandai's weird fright feature ones, the really wacky ones. You had those over there? Where you kind of press the legs and they. I like those. They're so bad, but purposefully bad. I like them. I dig those.
None of the major stores in the UK stocked them. They went straight to B&M. They went straight to B&M. Such a weird thing.
I think they're a Target exclusive.
Are you familiar with B&M over here, Steve?
No, I thought it was that brand that was in Wall-E, wasn't it? What was that?
Yeah. It is. It's very similar to a Ross's in respect of that it gets a lot of. I love a Ross's, but it's very similar in respect that they kind of get closed out things and stuff like that. So you'll get figures in there. You'll get like everything from like Lego to action figures. Like there's no continuity with brands or who it is. Like they even got some legends in there this last week.
Like such a random selection of 5 though, innit? Because you got like you got the zombies, and then you've got a couple from like another Black Panther wave, and there's just such randomness.
But they won't be like across all stores. It will just be in particular areas. So on the Facebook groups, it'll be like, oh, my B&M in Norwich has got this, and this. It's really funny. So
essentially, those types of stores are obviously, needed and doing well at the moment, because obviously they sell at discounted prices for people to be able to kind of go and get stuff. But they've almost kind of become part of the hunting culture, the toy hunting culture. It's like, well, you just said it. I've seen it here in Norwich, and they're not like sort of main brick and mortar kind of stores that have waves and lines and stuff. But now I've noticed it clearly that people are finding stuff there, and it's almost the new hunting ground. It's like the new boot sailing.
Very similar. Very similar. But they got all the Stranger Things figures and the Stranger Things kind of merchandise. You could pretty much walk into any B&M and there would be something Stranger Things related, which I found really bizarre, because I thought that the figure side of it and the collective merchandise side of it would really have taken off, but it's just not been right yet.
Okay.
So your number 2.
My number 2, I'm going to change it. Put it up, because your Drizzt reminded me there was one I didn't. No, that's number.
What? Which one's that one? Oh, God's sake!
I've written it down here. Can't you read? It's actually the I'm doing the Tom Holland one.
Right, okay.
No Way Home. So I'm doing your No Way Home, but with the face revealed. Singular one. That was originally my number 2 because I love that figure. I love the proportions. I've got it on my desk at work, and I just kind of fiddle and play around with it. And I think the likeness is really cool on Tom. But I'm going to change it. No disrespect to Mr. Holland. I'm going to change it because you brought out Drist, and I forgot about Dungeons and Dragons. And I like. Oh God, he's going to fall apart now as well. I think that was this year. Yeah, it was early this year, I think. I'm going to go with Presto. I'm going to have my Presto, the original Dungeons and Dragons thing. I just love. I greatly appreciate what the D&D team did with his accessories and the hat and the replaceable hair, and it's just a very nice. It's all floppy now, but because they're picking it up. But it's a very nice, simple fig. They sorted out their joints. But when I knew D&D, the animated series, was coming out, I was very excited. So to finish off the team, I do like Presto. I thought he was nicely done.
He's very cool.
Yeah, so that's my number 2.
Frustratingly, that's one line that I haven't picked up yet. The animated D&D.
Can you not get it over there?
Yeah, it's there. It's just one of those ones where I'm kind of like, I'll get to that, and just I keep putting it off. But I think I need to. That's my beginning of 2024. I think
it was I just love that cartoon. It's such a.
Oh, it's brilliant.
Great cartoon. I just like it.
But we've been very lucky over here since Hasbro Pulse came to the UK. We have been very spoiled family, really, because we can get anything online now.
Good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely made a difference. But
they like buying. I got a question for you. A bit of personal poll research. do you like shopping online for your figures? Yeah. Why?
Because I can do it from my house in my underwear.
Like any good action figure collector, like buying toys and up.
I'd be epitome of that South Park guy, and I just sat there clicking.
Is it because you can get like lots without? This is going to sound like a dig on you, but like, is it because you can get lots without effort? Like, is it about accumulation or like? Okay, all right.
Online, I think if I went to a shop and I was buying them in bulk in a shop, I would think, oh, this is because I can see it physically in front of me. I'm like, that's a lot of cash. That's a lot of money. I could buy food. But when I'm online, I'm like, there's no guilt. It's like, there's 100 quid. Send it. Get it gone.
Thing. So a lesser of guilt.
For me, I like going into a store. I like that there's something very fulfilling about the hunt. And for me, it was when I came over to Florida back in the days of the Walgreens Fantastic Four, and being able to go and, much to my wife's despise, drive around to a dozen different Walgreens and actually pick up all of them, like the full family and the Silver Surfer, actually on the shelf. Like there's for anyone that hasn't done that, there is no, for an action figure collector, there's no feeling like going in somewhere, seeing that solitary figure sitting there and being able to grab it.
Yeah.
But online does open up a huge different kind of market, if you like. So I've been picking up a few Hot Toys recently, and they're not the kind of things that you would see on the shelf. Like even at conventions and stuff, they're very limited to what they are. But online, you can talk to, sellers over in China and stuff and all that kind of stuff. And the scope of what you can get is much bigger.
Yeah, it's interesting.
So there is...
I have a theory. It's just a theory of doing it for 30 odd years of the hunt. Life or nature kind of comes in threes, and everything is in threes. Stories are done in 3 acts, and I think hunting is the same. Like toy hunting, you go to a store. If you went to a store and found it, it's not much of a story there. You go to a store, don't find it, go to one more, and you go, oh God, it's not here either. Oh my God, am I going to get it? You have to get it on the 3rd attempt. Any more than 3, in my mind, it starts to, you don't have a story. I went to get it, couldn't get it. I went to another place. Oh my God, I couldn't get it, but I found it in the 3rd one. It's the thrill of looking and not finding, and then finding, I think is really important. And I'm actually quite curious about what the equivalent is online. Like, what is the equivalent of that thrill of finding? Because you don't have to travel to go to your different websites. You just find them, and I'm intrigued by that because I'd like to work out how to spark off the thrill of the hunt within online purchasing. Something that's going to work on.
when Hasbro do the live streams, that is when the online community goes mental. So basically, when you guys say we're going to be on Thursday, first thing me and Jacob do is message each other when we see that announcement. We're like, dude, Thursday, check it out, Thursday.
Yep.
Then we sit and watch Dwight and that talk about the Marvel Legends, and then it's the whole they're going to be on pre-order like later tonight or tomorrow, and then it's that wait of they're going to be online, and then everyone's online at the same time, clicking refresh, waiting for them to come online. I like it's all that kind of stuff, and everyone's online in the community is talking about it. So that is kind of the equivalent of like waiting in line at a store sort of thing.
As long as I can get it, I know we've had some problems where you can't get it or it sells out because pre-orders are just pre-orders of a certain amount. But
I think we've got over that in the UK. There's that many.
Oh no, I will. I 100% will, Steve. That will happen. I'm doing it currently on YouTube in my cool toy tales where I'm trying to capture a little bit of that. But I'm genuinely fascinated by the psychology behind collecting. I'm working with it sounds very grand. It's not grand. I'm working with a professor at I think he's at Curry College, and on why people collect, but also why people collect retro lines that have a definitive amount. Like Jacob, you're thinking about going to do Star Wars Kenner. There's a definitive amount on that line that you can start and you can finish.
Yep.
Versus collecting more modern lines like Marvel Legends, when you never know when it's gonna stop. Like I personally don't like that. I don't like collecting something that is ongoing because I feel a little bit intimidated and unsure about when will I ever succeed. But I like the idea of collecting retro. So I am fascinated by the psychology behind it, and I'm going to try and do a lot of work over the next couple of years. Try and do some fun and new interesting things for our lines or any line.
It's interesting. It's interesting you say that though, Steve, because like I'm limited by space, and I've been collecting Marvel Legends since the beginning. So I've had a bit of a kind of you've made the cut, you haven't made the cut, and kind of not slimmed down my collections, but I've kind of gone I don't need 50 Wolverines now. I want to get my definitive 10 or whatever like that. So at my 6 inches, I've been able to do that. But the 3 3/4 inch retro line that you did, I went out and I've got every single one of them because
one you didn't like at the beginning.
Somebody sent me 3 of them and just sent me spiraling. And then I went out and I collected them all, and I will not touch those. They're not being touched because that to me is a complete set. Yeah. Especially with the line kind of being like rested, I think was the term you used. Being rested at the time. I was like, well, you know what? This is it's like a sticker book. Like, if you've got a sticker book and you complete a sticker book,
that's interesting.
That becomes more valuable, in my opinion, for you as a collector. Than one that's half empty. And I still do the Panini sticker books, and if I do, I love it.
World Cups and Euros, I do.
No, see, for me, it's the Spider-Man ones now. But a completed book, you finish the journey, but that's kind of like I can put that there now because that's done. And that for me is the retro 3 3/4 inch line. Is I'm like, I'm not touching those because 1, it's complete. And 2, it's rested. So if they do come back and pick it up, I'm going to be really annoyed because then I'm going to be going back and
It's funny because I got photographs of the figures that we were doing before we decided to rest it. So there's some that are, again, to Steve's point, like in a book that would be great. Like I look at those pictures and I go, that's good content, or that's good tasty content. But it's like I can't do anything with it at the moment. But it's interesting. It's a lovely little line. I do love it.
The most
there's no IP. There's no IP sensitivity behind it. No. It's just fun and it's loose and it's free and it's simple.
I must admit, if it's anything to go by as well, there are a lot of conversations about people frustrated that it stopped. Like even now, some of my videos that get regular comments are the ones that I did on the line coming to an end or figures in that line. But
my hope is that conversation still goes on. There's a load of customs. There's a couple of people like Josh Izzo and Martin. I forget his surname. I'd put him on my Instagram.
Incredible customs with a card.
I love it. So I think it just built. I mean, it's very niche. It is niche. I'm not gonna lie about that. It's a very if you go onto Facebook groups and you can judge by the numbers of thousands that they've got, it's small, but it's passionate. So who knows? As I say, it is rested. It's a simple thing to reactivate. They're easy figures to make and manufacture. But you have to make choices about your portfolio, and you have things you have to support, and it's not an endless well.
No.
So yeah,
My most frustrating thing with that line, though, and I'm going to say this now because it's your fault, but because I got sent down the rabbit hole,
yeah,
I was like, oh, I'm a let them breathe, out of box collector. I've got these really nice little cases from Amazon that are like tiered. So I've got 2 of these 3 tiered, and it fits the whole collection in there nicely.
nice.
So I was like, I can't get rid of these boxes because they're too nice. So what I decided to do was to cut the trading cards out the back and put them in my trading card folders with my other trading cards. But annoyingly, I'm missing 3 of them because I got sent 3 of the figures by somebody out of box.
Oh, I sent you without the boxes.
So you had to go back and buy them again.
I'm trying to track down the empty boxes just for those cards.
Which ones are you after?
I've got them written down. I think it's no, I got Hulk. I picked him up.
Send them to me. I'll sort you out some cards if I can find them. I'm not going to open mine up because they're the only ones I leave in back.
Just, I don't know if you've seen the comments here, but there's a couple of people commenting about different things. Andy H.
Online.
I buy online as I don't have people. I don't have the people. I get that.
Go, read the rest of it. Read the rest of it. Come on.
I can
you don't want to, but you've got to.
Pick out reviews, mainly Sorrells, before I click checkout.
Yeah, I mean, I want to create more of a shopping community. Thing online. Maybe I'm missing out because I buy mine online. So,
but again, with the Fantastic Four, those Walgreen ones, for me, there was such a reward being able to go in and pick up those in person and find them, especially as they were Walgreen exclusive, and that was before a lot of the importing came over to the UK, so we couldn't get them kind of sent over by any of our retailers. Obviously, Pulse wasn't over here at the time, so being out there on vacation and actually being able to go into the Walgreens and grab them and get the whole set, for me, they're a real kind of, not grail is a strong word, but they're a real kind of prize part of my collection. Even if they lose all their value, and we've had 3 or 4 versions of the Fantastic Four since, but to me, they're still the definitive ones for me.
Cool.
Yeah, one thing as well for the for that as well. I think as well, it's because a lot of the shops here in the UK that stock the product as well are like HMV, and they put their markup on it. So you know that it's hard when you went to HMV and you're looking at a NECA figure and they've got it marked up for $52.99 for Elvira. But I know damn well I can pick her up online for $32.99. I'd like, why am I going to pay that extra 20 quid just to buy it now? I could wait and get it. I know she's in stock on In Demand or Kapow, or we have so many online retailers because of the lack of stock for so long. The online retailer market in the UK is massive now, and we can always get stuff now.
I guess the risk with online, obviously, you're not checking out the figure. You know, I know I know we had closed boxes, but I know they're going away. You should start seeing those hitting the stores now. I think whether back to Windows, but I'm fascinated with online. I'm fascinated with the approach and the gut feeling of shopping online and shopping and collecting online and collecting in store. And what do we miss? What do we gain? It's fascinating.
I also think that the pandemic and COVID and everything had a massive input on that, because collectors came out, like collectors were born in that time where picking stuff up online was the only option. So there was a huge spike in the collectors market over that time that is kind of dropping off a little bit. But
question for you, sorry, are there still boot sales in England? Do they still exist? Can you still find stuff?
No,
there?
they are very wise to the price of stuff.
Yeah, since the birth of the internet and groups like the action figure groups, people know the prices now.
Since I ripped off that kid in no, sorry.
Yeah, which is a shame. It is a shame because, you know, finding stuff is, you know, it's a real. I went to Wales not too long ago, a few months back actually, and there was like a retro store there, but it was literally like walking into someone's bedroom. Like it was all like glass cabinets and just stuff piled, but it was like a boot sale in a shop. It was really bizarre, and everything was individually priced. And I had my kids with me, so I couldn't spend too long, but I was like, this is a gold mine.
It would be interesting if there was a way that you could work out, like, you know, you've got overflow, you get overflow of stuff, like how you could then pass that on without necessarily having to make a profit on it. And I know that's sort of, I'm brainstorming out loud here. This is by no means a Hasbro sponsored brainstorm whatever, but it's just, I'm interested in, like, how do you pass on what you don't want onto others? And I know that the community does that a lot. A lot of people help each other out when it's like, oh, I need a Like if one of you said, I need so and so, like Jake, someone may send you a helmet for Luke. Who knows? You might do. People have sent stuff for me and things. So it's fascinated with that sort of the secondary market of sort of spreading the love around a little bit and kind of, I don't know. Anyway,
I think that the sad thing is as well with the online element is that you're not sure who the people are in the community as well.
Yeah.
So there's literally on a weekly basis in the groups, you'll see a message go up saying like, this person is now out of the group because they're flipping things or they were taking advantage of
one today. Yeah.
And the funny thing is I had somebody with some of the figures I sold recently. It's a little story, little anecdote here. And they were kicked out of a group for buying stuff and reselling in their own stores, like their own sort of secondhand store sort of thing. So they kicked off the group for flipping, if you like. And he reached out to me a message and said, like, I'm really sorry. Like, I hope you're cool and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, you know what? I don't take it personally. I sold the figures for the price that I was happy to sell them at. If you're putting him into a store to sell him, and he was like, I sell him at this much and all that kind of. And I was like, you know what? I'm totally fine with that. You should have just told me. If you were said up front, it wouldn't have changed anything. Which is slightly different to like scalpers and flippers and stuff. But I think that having those people in the groups has really dampened down that kind of community element.
I know what you mean. It is different. I find it quite grey areas. Like for me, scalping is when you go in when there's a limited supply and you remove the limited supply so no one else can have them. You overdo it and sell it. It's not about, for me, it's not about making the profit. It's about limiting the ability to purchase that at that point, to be able to go in that point. So if someone buys something from someone who's willingly selling it and then sells it for, that's up to them. I mean, it's possession, it's 9/10. So it's weird, like how sometimes it's okay and sometimes it isn't. But
very quickly, there's one comment here I just want to bring up. Question for Steve. Will the windowless box
you're going to bring that up
again with the window? I've got a shout out.
I'm not sure. I don't think so. As a rule, we're trying to make sure that we're getting the right figures out. That would mean we'd just flood the market with too much stuff. Like if we had to do all of them again. Good thing about Marvel Legends, as you know, whether you like it or not, is that we often revisit characters and we'll update them and do them and redo them. So I can't. There's definitely, as I know, no plans to sort of like just very re-release all of those. But characters come and they get redone or put in different packages. So I'm personally pleased that the window, the window's back. I felt it was an important part of the collecting experience. Yeah. And, so I let that be known.
Just for everyone in the comments that's saying I made them skin, I did nothing. I just made a nice little video. Steve made us all skin by designing these lovely products. Right, so blame Steve, not me.
Not my fault. Right. You would hate it if you couldn't buy any of them.
Let's crack on with
our own choices.
Otherwise, we're not going to reach our number ones, which will be a real shame.
I've
already reached mine twice.
We've shown Steve twice. My number 2 for me, Retro Ghost Rider.
Was it this one? Because you didn't specify 6 or 3, so I'm hoping it's this one.
No, this is the one. This is the one. The Retro 6-inch card back. For me, it's it's a very similar figure than we've had 2 times before this. But for me, this just having the flame bone hands and the pure kind of white ivory skull, this was my definitive Ghost Rider for me.
See, I thought this until I saw the Legion of Monsters comic book, and in fact, in those original comic books, he's got the blue outline, not the black, not the grey. The original comics, he had the blue outline on his jacket.
Yeah.
So I had this one on display for so long, and I'm like, I'm going to put the old one back because it doesn't look right now.
That's why I've been you can't see it. I
can't see it off camera.
The amount of arguments I have with Dwight, Ryan, and Jesse from Marvel about blues and blacks and blues, and like Jesse, I love that guy to bits. He's very opinionated and very knowledgeable. He's like, it's just because of the inking. It's meant to be black. The blue is just the light. And I'm like, well, is it? Because there's a lot of blue in the areas that would be hitting the light. That looks like it's more like... And he's like, no. And I'm like, well, it's black. No, it's blue. And then, God, don't get me started on Power Man. And it's just like, I can't win. You can't win. The blue-black debate will go on forever and ever and ever.
My number 2 is Dokondar, because I'm a massive nerd for Star Wars, especially Galaxy's Edge. I've been there 3 times now, and I love the place and all the characters from it, and the fact that they've put a storyline behind an area in a theme park is amazing. And Dokondar is one of the best animatronics like I've ever seen. It's so cool, and to get an action figure representation of that land for me was all epitomized in Dokondar. And cool. Yeah, it's such a cool figure.
That's
and he came with all the accessories as well from the comic book, because they did that one-shot comic for Galaxy's Edge when it first came out, and the guys at Hasbro have like gone back and put all those little bits like the Stormtrooper helmet and things. They're all things that he got in the comic book and like put on display in his store. So that's really cool.
That's cool. That's really cool. Did you get to stay at the hotel, the space?
I never got a chance to stay at the hotel. I never got a chance, but that would have been amazing.
Yeah, one of the guys on my team went a couple of times, and they went dressed up. So they dressed up.
Yeah.
And he said the second time was better, because the first time you're just kind of like in awe of the experience and just trying to work out what you do and where you go. And the second time, you know what's going to happen, but the story is different each time. Mm-hmm. And so you can kind of really lean into it. You know what to do and where to go. And it was very well done. Shame it had to.
Awesome. Yeah, I've got a friend down in the States called Dano, the Dano channel. And he went about 4 or 5 times with various people, always dressed up and stuff. And he vlogged literally the entire experience every time he went, like in full. So you could literally live it if you wanted to on his channel. It's amazing.
That's cool. So, Steve, you're number 1. I have no idea what this is going to be.
No one's got a clue what this one is.
He's kidding me.
You've ruined my whole experience. I hate you. Go on in. This one is this.
I'd laugh if you put the wrong picture up. That was
yeah, get out. Oh no, he's. So I don't even know if this is released yet. I've seen someone who's picked up a Power Princess, but it's probably in the Far East. But so like this,
I've seen. We have. This is the Void Wave, isn't it?
Yeah. Is this out yet?
It's just out.
Anyway,
yeah.
I didn't know anything about Crystal. I'm going to be honest with you. And then when they were talking about it, and I went, "Who's that?" I have a thing for translucent figures. I will. Mm-hmm. And Daniel always says, "Oh, Steve, translucent figures." So I like see-through figures. And when this one came up on our, we call it SG2. It's our sort of like ideas meeting. They go, "Oh, we're going to want to do this." And I was like, "Ooh, who's that?" And they go, "It's Crystal." And I was like, "Crystal? Why do I know that name?" And then they explain, 1982 Remco, Marvel Comics. They did 11 series, 11 book run, and I was like, "Oh, yeah, he's cool." So I went out and kind of picked out. I got a Remco one, a really nice, clean, shiny, see-through one, and I was like, "Oh, I like that." So again, I like the history. So I go back in, I research it, I find out all about it. I grab the Crystal books, kind of read all of those. And it's just kind of cheesy, and I wonder why number 8 was so expensive, or more expensive. Sorry, the rest of them are cheap, but number 8 was more expensive. And then I was like, "Oh, God, what's that?" And then I found out the story of, oh God, what's the heavy metal band's name? Do you know this story? They lifted this skull. Oh God, Danzig. Danzig. Danzig.
Oh, right, yeah, Danzig.
The illustrator or something. They lifted this skull, and that's their logo. So like people buy this. Danzig fans buy this number 8 Crystal that is where their logo came from. So just the tapestry of stories, and I just enjoy it. It's really cool. So this may be my favorite figure of this year when I eventually pick it up, because it led me down a rabbit hole to discover all about Remco and all the Crystal and all the stories. And I have loads of conversations. He's not going to stand up now. I have a load of conversations with Jesse at Marvel about that sort of early 80s era of sort of weird and wacky comic book runs, and how comics were supporting figures and Micronauts and ROM and all that kind of era. So I felt that was an important figure this year, and it was, if I can say that, it was our number 1 sort of San Diego Comic-Con reveal. It was the one that most people talked about. And it's a sort of like unknown character, but you do get a little with the Remco one. You got this special thing here. Look, you can.
Oh, look at that! That's so cool.
Any little toy gimmick, I love. Yeah. So
it was a massive left field seeing it announced. There were so many kind of question marks and what? Who's this? But it's a very cool looking figure. It definitely is a very cool looking figure.
And it's important to do those things, there are 8,000 characters in the Marvel universe. And yes, for every Wolverine and every Spider-Man, and we'll sell loads of those to different people. But I think it's important to get to allow those sort of deep cut, left field, whatever you want. But we've got to make sure we're selling them in the right places at the right quantities to be well. But I certainly don't want to. None of us want to walk away from the ability to do those things.
No.
Different tiers of knowledge, because it's education. It's your history.
And it's cool. It's cool to just live in a time where we're able to have those figures. Like, that's awesome in itself.
Yeah.
Whose was it? My one now.
Yeah.
All right. So my number one, it's again very recently released figure, but Andrew Garfield, Unmasked Spider-Man. It just had to be. He's here. Even though I got the Pulse 3-pack, this for me was the big one. And for a number of reasons.
Toby's not on yours, to be fair. I'm surprised it wasn't Toby, because I know you're a big Toby Mark.
I am. But Andrew Garfield was my Spider-Man. Like, his films for me I just really enjoyed the Andrew Garfield films.
Andrew Garfield got the biggest pop in my cinema when I saw No Way Home. He got the biggest pop. And
I think what for me as well, what makes it special is that he was the most hated Spider-Man at the time. Like, people didn't like him because he wasn't Toby. And then he's kind of gone this full circle, and now everybody loves him and he's obsessed with him, and he's the best Spider-Man ever.
He's the Hayden Christensen of
Marvel Universe. And I love those kind of redemption stories, especially when you're kind of on the fence of liking something at the beginning, but kind of keeping it to yourself a little bit. And for me, as a figure, there was two parts to this. Was that we had an Amazing Spider-Man figure from Marvel Legends back in the day with Electro and the Spider-Man, and they're not great. They didn't age well. Let's put it that way. They didn't age well, and they don't sit very well with the more modern versions. So to be able to get an updated Andrew Garfield Spider-Man was fantastic, and that was my main selling point for the Pulse 3-pack. And I especially appreciate the loopholes and things that people had to jump through in order to give us that head sculpt. Like, it makes sense. And there's still people that are kind of like, why is this on a different card back?
I know.
Because they wanted to give it to us. So the fact that though somebody somewhere was jumping through hoops in order to make that happen. And I think I speak for a lot of people when I say that that's massively appreciated.
Well, I will pass
that's
that
why he
on.
Makes my number one.
I will pass that on. Yeah, there's a lot. It's not unusual. We sometimes go into that sort of territory. There's a lot of well-known people, a lot of actors that are obviously within all of these universes. And, it's sometimes you got to, as you say, jump through a few hoops and, tread delicately to get things happen. I'm not saying that Andrew Garfield was a delicate one, but it's not just we'll do that. Sometimes it's a little bit more involved. And it's always worth it when it's appreciated.
And that was why, again, another thing that kicked off was that a lot of people were like, well, hang on, you've just given us the 3-pack and now you're releasing them with the unmasked heads. Oh, it's such a cash grab. And I was like, no, look at the card back. Like, this was fan service for me. Like, for me, I would massively mark out for Hasbro on this one, because this for me was fan service. It was a case of, we want to give you the heads, we need to kind of push the right buttons in order to do so. And that's why I have both versions, because I was like, I appreciate that.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
But yeah, that's why he makes my number one, just because it's one that was close to not being. Let's put it that way.
My number one, everyone knows, if you follow me for a while, I am a big monsters guy, especially Marvel monsters. So it was only right that Blade made the number one. This Blade is such a cool Blade as well. We managed to get the modern look finally with the proper sword. It's not a katana this time; it's a proper sword.
Yeah.
So that made me happy. And no, they just did him really well this time. Like the other versions were cool, but this is the definitive Blade. I think it's so cool. Because it was only a little while ago we were really marking out for the Diamond Select one, and then then you guys at Hasbro dropped this one, and this one beats everything. That's amazing.
That's cool. It's got expression as well. There are lots of conversations we have about expressions, when to do them, when not to do them. Sometimes we can't always put duplicate heads in because there's too much deco on it, and everything costs. So to have Blade, that didn't come with an alternative head, did it?
Yeah,
it did. Okay, did it?
Did it?
No, it didn't.
That's sort of
No,
more
it-
stone.
No, it didn't.
you
Did it?
did.
No, sorry, it didn't.
No.
It's because I've put the other one on it from the other one. Yeah, I've
There you
played
go.
the other one. That's
So
the Netflix Wave one from
Yeah.
2018 came with two heads.
that came with
and
two heads, didn't it?
The
The
Diamond
bald
Stakes
one and
one
then
that you
Yeah.
mentioned had two heads, but this one didn't. And
Yeah.
it was one of
Well,
the kind of not complaints, but one of the criticisms was
Yeah.
that we haven't got like a vanilla head, but
I know.
it's played at the end of the day. We want to see the fangs. Like,
Yeah, so that's a conversation we have a lot about
Yeah.
what the expression should be. I've actually kind of put out challenges like I want a Marvel Legends face you can articulate to make a different expression, and they're like, "What?" I was like, "I'm going to ask that every year until we work it out." It's going to be like really nicely done.
that was
So,
the figure.
I'm glad we did the expression on that one.
That was the figure that when Sorrell mentioned it, I was like, "Oh, how did I leave him off my list? He was one of my favorites this year. Like, how did I miss him?" But yeah, he's a very cool figure indeed.
we just need to get Morbius right now. we just need a slightly better Morbius, and then we'll be happy. So I had to put the big flashy coat on mine because it just looked better.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on soft goods versus plastic? Sort of capes and coats and things like that, because that's a topic I hear a lot about, and it's one I often have conversations. You showed your what was your Hammerhead Doc Ondar? Like
Doc Ondar was cloth.
he looked like he had really nice soft goods,
Mm.
kind of trapped with the plastic and things like that. So I'm interested in your guys' opinions on soft versus plastic.
It was. Do you want to go on this one first, Sorrell?
I think when it comes to things like leather jackets, I think plastic looks better because you usually get that like pretend plexi kind of rubbishy mesh version that always flakes and looks awful after a few
Always
years
flake.
on display.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, but when it comes to like Jedi robes and stuff, they only look good in cloth. I think the plastic Obi-Wan Kenobi from years ago look horrible now by comparison to the sort of newer ones. But yeah, I think it just depends on what it is you're trying to do.
Mm.
For me personally, it was one of my biggest turn-offs from the Black Series because I didn't like the soft goods compared
Alright.
to being a Marvel Legends collector for so long.
Yeah.
I was kind of like, well, no, I want a plastic skirt, I want a plastic robe, like, you know what I mean? But it was a big kind of thing. But then again, kind of in Hot Toys, it is very much soft goods, so it's kind of like it's the complete opposite end of the spectrum. When Marvel Legends introduced it with Dr. Octopus, was it Dr. Doom, wasn't it? And we got
Yeah.
that little collar, and I was like, oh, I'm not sure about this. I don't know how I feel about this. But when I got the Hawkeye with the Sky Cycle, which obviously had to have soft goods for articulation reasons, it was head and shoulders above the previous version. And I was like, this works. So I think in the right places, it works well.
Yeah.
In others, it's not as good.
It's interesting because obviously if we do soft goods, we're not making big steel tools to kind of press out the plastic, but the amount of labor that goes into it. And I saw like Steve Butler is talking about putting wires in things like that, which is you can do that. It's just that's a lot of extra labor, which just ramps up the amount that you got to put into to get it. But it's another topic I'm very interested in, and I'm hearing the same sort of thing. It's like there are certain times when it works, certain times when it doesn't.
Yeah.
So
like you couldn't create that jacket with soft goods because you need so much wiring just to get that effect. Whereas that plastic just works.
Even in wire, you wouldn't get that. It wouldn't hang right. The weight and the weight without it being a very expensive
collar up and
for 25.
I think that
you're not going to get really
with Marvel Legends. I think the time that the conversation, the time that I've seen it most mentioned was that kind of original trench coat mold that we had with like Nick Fury, Gambit, like everybody that had a trench coat kind of had that mold, and that's where people were kind of going, give us soft goods, because then we're not all, because obviously when you've got them all stood next to each other, they're very similar because they're using the same mold, but you're not going to have a new mold for every single figure. But obviously we're now in a position where there are a handful of different kind of trench coat molds.
I'm going to invent, so I'm a challenge about them change of expression of heads. I'm going to invent a new plastic fabric alloy.
Perfect.
We're going to make stuff so it's bendable
with wire in it.
And no, not wire. It's going to be like I'm going to call it plasti starch fabric, and you can just kind of mold it and. Okay.
Perfect.
I'm actually going to write that down. I've got a week where I've got no meetings. This is the time where I go, okay, I want to look at this, and they're usually
that's where it's at. That's where it's at.
That shit crazy.
When you talk about the moldy facey thing, they did that on the Morbius years ago. Could you remember if you put it in the sunlight, it'd like deform and look all weird? That was Toy Biz, wasn't it? That made that, and that was 20 years ago nearly now.
Yeah.
So I mean, times must have moved on where we can kind of get a jaw to articulate on a Morbius or a Blade now. Surely, times must have moved on a little bit.
I'll find it.
Amazing.
I'm literally putting it in my meeting. I got like
That would be.
I
Yeah, I
won't show you
mean,
the screen, but
I mean, the one thing that you guys could revisit and stick a load of nice goods on it and howling faces and things would be this guy, Werewolf by Night.
look at him.
This is a Toy Biz one from years ago, and he's still on my shelf to this day. This is the original Monsters box, and I've got them all up there. They're all on my shelf. These are my favorite Marvel Legends to this day in the Toy Biz. I need the Hasbro update now. That's the thing. Especially with the.
I haven't watched that yet in color. I need to watch that.
It's
I
amazing.
didn't watch it in color. I like that. That was cool. I have a great amount of respect for Michael Giacchio. He and I've let him know this. Did he reply? I think he did reply. I said to him, I broke it down very bluntly. I'm quite frank. I said, when John Williams passes away, you're going to be my number 1 soundtrack composer.
Yeah.
Can you imagine when Johnny? Oh,
No,
don't,
even say it.
2 or something, or 91.
don't even go there. Looking at the time though, we are towards the end of the show. Steve, is there anything that you want to plug, mention, point people in the direction?
Yeah, a couple of things. So I'm on Instagram, Mr. Stevie18. I have a network of toy collectors that I connect with called Plebs, the patrons of the Let 'Em Breathe Society. And every year we do a great big holiday giveaway where we give away toys to either young collectors to try and kind of give them a story to talk about when they're our age, and they go, "Oh, you remember I won that thing? I won a Galactus, blah blah blah." Or we raise money for children's charities. This year we're raising money for children's charities. There's 5 of us doing it. If you go to my website, I am auctioning, raffling off a Giant Man that will be with you next year. Like $5 a ticket. All proceeds go to save the children. So I'm looking for that. We've got 1 week left on that, 6 days, in fact. So if you're in the market for a Giant Man, it's only US, I'm afraid. I'm so sorry, because I have to change the address from the ones I've bought, and they'll only do that in the US. So if you've got US listeners, you missed out on a Giant Man because you had your head under a rock or you couldn't afford it at the time, come to my Instagram, $5, get you a ticket. There's not a lot of people that have gone for it at the moment. So these probably pretty good odds, to be fair.
You know what? Just on the Giant Man note, and I said this to Ryan at MCM when I saw him, because I didn't back it, because I was like, you know what, he doesn't fit into my collection. Like, I didn't. That was the only reason I was like, I can't put the Giant Man into the way I have my Avengers displayed, so I'm not going to back it. And then I saw it at MCM on display after the backing had closed, and I said, I am so annoyed I didn't see this in person, because, and again, this is the online in-person thing, but seeing it in person, I was like 100% I would have backed it. Like, even though it didn't fit into my display.
You made me feel bad now. I can't put it to the UK. I'm just trying to, in my head, I'm trying to think, is there any way you can do a special Geek Week? Like, if you back it and mention Geek Week, it's like a special code. I'll send it to you. But,
for anyone listening, jump on it for $5. It's worth just to have. Like, it's a really good figure.
So I've got that, and then I do another thing called Toy Fan Talent, which is I highlight and profile creative people in the toy community, whether it's toy photography, whether it's customs, art, illustration. And every year I have a fun little sort of award ceremony. I've got 5 people that are finalists in categories: best toy pick, best custom, best video, etc., etc. And I've got a voting thing on my Instagram as well. And you vote for the one you think is the best out of the 5, and they win the Toy Fan Talent Cup, which literally is actually more of a mug. But they win this one of one. But just a bit of fun. But please come and check out the incredible talent that's out there, and check out their accounts and show them support. Some of them don't have many followers. Criminally, they're just amazing. So come on, Mr. Steve 18, have a go at Giant Man, and let me know what you think about the Toy Fan Talent Awards.
Yes. And I've got to shout your tall toy tale videos.
Oh yeah, I got
Loving
forgot
those
that.
at the moment.
Really, yeah. I'm on YouTube now, everybody.
Yeah.
Mr. Steve. It's not Mr. Stevie 18, it's the Mr. Stevie 18, because some bugger has already got my name on YouTube and he hasn't used it for years and years and years. And I'm not going to offer him $100,000 to have the name. So yeah, I go on YouTube every Sunday at 4 p.m. I didn't do it today because I was prepping for this. I was actually writing notes for this and I haven't written a script. So I'll do it tomorrow. But at the moment, I'm exploring all my Star Wars figure collection. I'm going through all my Kenneth figures, giving stories behind it, giving little insights into how it's affected the retro line. Actually, Jake, you should watch it. If you're thinking about getting back into heritage Kenner, you should give it a watch, and it'll just tip you over the edge. I have this reputation of bringing you in.
I skipped that episode for that exact reason.
You should 100% get in there.
Luke is staring at me, and if I still watch Steve, like, you got me into the flipping Marvel.
All right. Well, my next episode, which is episode 6, I'm finishing off Return of the Jedi and moving into Power of the Force, 1985, which is
amazing.
Spot on your little Luke. So I could show you Luke in the helmet and tell you some few stories about Yak Face and all that, and you'll be I'm in. So anyway, yeah.
Perfect. Oh, Steve, thank you so much for joining us again. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on.
Anytime.
Anyone that's watching, either on live or repeat, obviously do go and check out Steve's stuff. Yeah, we'll have to do this again, and you'll have to maintain that kind of most regular guest slot. You know,
I'll be deeply offended if I'm not.
if we make off that top slot. Yeah. No, Steve, thank you very much. Obviously, everyone else that's watching, thank you very much for tuning in. We'll get to some comments, and obviously we'll talk about them in the next episode as well.
That's awesome. Yeah, please have a great Christmas holiday, whatever you celebrate, wherever you are, you two and everyone, Andy and Shelley and all that in the comments. I'm just seeing off there. Thank you for a wonderful year. Thanks for staying with us. Thanks for pushing this community and kind of keeping it going. I know it's tough out there. I know a lot of people are struggling, you know, with money, and just general life is a bit of a mess at the moment. But it's a weird dichotomy because we spend a lot of time and effort and passion on this hobby, but it I don't know about you, but it helps me. It helps me incredibly with my kind of wellness and kind of mindfulness and well-being, just knowing that there are people out there with the same stupid kind of hobby and passion that I have. So let's keep it going, and forever and ever, onwards and upwards.
I've stopped calling it a hobby now, and I call it a lifestyle. There you go.
There you go. Definitely a lifestyle.
That's my life.
Ash, you are the poster boy for our lifestyle.
Living that toy life.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
I appreciate you all and everybody. It just it blows me away every day. The stuff we all get up to and find out, and the talent, and it's great. I love it. I love it.
Amazing.
All right.
Amazing. Thank you, Steve. Everyone else, keep it geek.
Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and of course subscribe. Tune in next week for another live show. Until then, keep it geek. Stay up to date at www.geekweekinreview.co.uk.